Let me introduce you to this beautiful timepiece from Hamilton. Hamilton watches are best known for their amazing field watches. Chances are, you've already heard or seen their mechanical field watches. This one we have right here is a vintage dress watch from the 70s. With a Swiss movement, let's take a closer look at this gem. If you haven't yet, click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any watch reviews like this one. Thank you. This is the first Hamilton watch that I've ever owned, and I believe this is a great start as compared to the field watches. Don't get me wrong, I love those too, but the Marathon GGW113 that I reviewed earlier still fills that gap in my collection. The dress watch aspect of this watch is just exceptional. It may look just like any other dress watch from that era, but this Hamilton just sticks out, maybe because of how mint the watch looks considering it is several decades old. A quick history of Hamilton. It was founded in 1892 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They produced mostly pocket watches. Several notable pocket watches were the 936, the 926, and the 992. I'll put a picture up here. In 1914, Hamilton became an official supplier to the US Armed Forces during the World War I. That was their door towards military field watches. And from the 1940s throughout the 70s, they started producing several notable watches that would be the basis of their modern lineup. They also started making chronographs and some innovative designs such as the Ventura, which was widely known as the official watch of the Men in Black series film. Recently, they also released a new Hamilton Khaki Murph 38mm, which was made solely for the movie called Interstellar, a more fitting watch now since they reduced the case size. This watch we have here in front of us is not a well-known Hamilton watch. There are only a few pictures of this watch online and all were being sold and not really discussed. As I've said earlier, this watch is in impeccable condition. Maybe just has a light scratch on the crystal there. Even to this side, there's a light scratch. The Hamilton 836 movement is decent, but it definitely needs service. I'm not exactly sure on how old this watch is, but based on the movement, it might be from around 1974 to the early 1980s. It's not actually gold, it is just gold plated. I like how big the crown is. It feels very nice, like a dive watch crown. Easy to turn to and to adjust. And unfortunately does not hack, but I believe it does wind. It's a beautiful signed crown. I'm sure some of you are not fans of gold dress watches or gold watches in general. Personally, I think they are a wonderful watch to have in the collection, especially vintage gold ones. They present a classic look that almost every other watch manufacturer was doing with their dress watches before. Here are some examples of gold watches from the 60s to the 80s. They have a contemporary design, and to the untrained eye, they all look the same. The case on this one is at 35mm, and I think as a dress watch, it is the right size. Sometimes dress watches would reach 40 and even 38 sometimes would look too wide because there's no bezel to minimize that dial. I actually prefer vintage dress watches over modern ones. The lume on the hour hand and the minute hand does not work anymore. If you can see there, it's turned into kind of yellowish. And I believe they also tried to put it on the hour markers, as you can see there. Overall, this is a fantastic watch that I'm glad to be able to share with you. It is a simple watch, but it carries a lot of history from the decades that it has existed. Watches like this are like time machines that you can see and wear. You'll never go back to the past, but you can appreciate it now through these beautiful timepieces. Vintage watches are a risky thing to buy, but when you get the right one, it is a promising experience as a watch collector. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. Stay safe.